now, just in case.
Sure. Can we make Ellen admin?
Yeah, I can do that in a sec. Mikey, do you want to put on the
We might as well. There's no harm, is there? Okay, right. So, welcome everybody. Sorry for a bit of a late running. It's just the very first Talkaoke Skills Lab, so we're a little bit off the pace here. But should we let everybody in?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, I'll play the theme music again as well. Okay. So let's just admit. Oh, okay. Leave audio now. Leave audio. Does anyone have audio? Okay, it's on audio. All right, okay, welcome everybody to the very.
Where is zoom? Oh, sound. Okay, whoops.
Okay, can people hear me now? Give us a cheer, give us a wave.
Oh yeah.
Yay! Whoa! Okay, right. Sorry about that. Okay, so welcome everybody. We are hopefully here. We're good. Welcome to Talkaoke Skills Lab Part 1.
I will just say that, this is the first Talkaoke Skills Lab. Not the first.
It feels like it.
Yeah, it feels a bit like it's got that kind of, I've never done this in my life before, vibe, but that's just how it is. But yeah, thank you so much everybody for joining. So we are calling from London on our side. So this is the People Speak Hub. It is a very busy hub today. We've got some people actually in the studio, which is unusual since COVID. But we also have people from Kampala. So Kampala crew, KQ, Wabwiri and the team, give us a wave.
Come on, Wabwiri, introduce it from your side as well, because we just want to make sure we've got a good sound level and that we are communicating across continents.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you very much for joining the first session of the Talkaoke Skills Lab. We're here together with the Ugandan team and we are really excited for this session. Thank you very much. And yeah, I see Babaluku, I see Sophie, I see Henry, I see Calvin. Welcome. Just give us a hi if you're there. Just a wave. Yeah, okay.
Okay, we've still got people coming in as well, Weary, but I guess we better get on with this because time is just going to go just like that. It is the first session. Even though we've all done Zoom before and it's kind of exciting, it does feel like we're kind of starting again. And
we're winging it.
We've gone kind of to the next level here, where we're actually doing something creative and collaborative.
So maybe I
Yeah.
could just do like a quick kind of overview. I mean, Ellen, if you've got a sec, maybe just send to anybody who's not here, just send them a message with the link to Zoom, just in case they're struggling to join. But essentially, Talkaoke Skills Lab is just our attempt at artist development program, and it is a big experiment. And through a series of sessions online and in person, we will work together to create an event, and we will find out what that event is. There will be some learning on the way, I think, for everyone. But I think today's session is about getting to know each other and just kind of finding out where people are coming from, literally and metaphorically. And I think Talkaoke is just a format, the format that we've been doing for 25 years. I mean, Mikey's been doing it for 25 years, even though he doesn't look it.
Yeah, I didn't always have this color hair, you know.
But Talkaoke is a pop-up talk show which we take everywhere and anywhere, and the idea is that it's a non-hierarchical space, and it's an opportunity. Actually, I don't know, opportunity. It's a right. It's basically people decide what we talk about. So this is the spirit in which we envisage this Talkaoke Skills Lab as a program. It will be heavily shaped by you people, so all of us. But yeah, we kind of count on your participation, and yeah, let's just see what happens. And yeah, I mean, so the format of today's session is going to be a Talkaoke, and thank you everybody, by the way, for sending through your postcards. And I think it was a really good exercise, actually, just to kind of see what people's like environments look like.
Yeah.
So we will go through them today. Obviously, the order is going to be random, so just look out.
I mean,
for
are
your
we going to get people to
postcard.
explain their postcard, or are we just going to go purely on the visual?
I mean, we can do both. We can just feel the moment, and then we'll kind of have a conversation. We will have a break in the meantime. I'll try to pop the subtitles on as well.
Oh yeah.
As a kind of extra. But essentially, today is about conversation, and then there will be a task at the end of it. It feels a bit like Apprentice, but hopefully it's less toxic. No, it definitely is less toxic. To sweeten things up, we've got some snacks. So Simon, you're in charge of snacks.
Just because you're closest to the carbohydrates.
Because you're our supply person. But that's it. I mean, shall we, Wabwiri, is there anything that you want to kind of say from the KQ side, from Kampala? And obviously the classic, you are on mute, but you knew that.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Margot and the team at The People Speak, for making it possible to have this collaboration where we have a virtual space bringing together people from diverse backgrounds from the UK and Uganda, connecting and collaborating. And that's what we're going to see with this project, with the common goal of sparking intercultural dialogue in our various communities. My name is Wawire, and I come from KQ Hub Africa. I'm the creative director. KQ Hub Africa is a future consultancy and a culture and creative studio based in Kampala. We work on a couple of projects to push culture forward, but also bringing together the creative community because our approach basically is promoting social development through the arts and culture. For the participants, this project, the Talkaoke Skills Lab, was premised on the idea that we needed to create a space that is non-hierarchical, where everyone sort of like has something to say. So it doesn't look like there's this person who manages this project. So all of you as participants in this project are project managers to this project. So that's one thing that is exciting about this project. So I'm looking forward to see how we can run this together, how we can build the connections, how we can meet together in the virtual space, but also hopefully in the physical space when COVID restrictions allow. And yeah, cheers. I'm looking forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Wabwiri. And I will just say for just this, because we don't want to get people's names wrong, but we probably will. So and you will get somebody's name wrong inevitably. So just roll with it. And also, please put your pronouns in your your name if that's if you want to kind of highlight that, so we get that right as well. But this is a safe space, and hopefully we can just be able to share where we're coming from in a kind of non-judgmental and kind of kind way. So yeah, let's have some chats. I think. Oh, we've got an animal participant as well. Hey, Linda, you were saying something.
Welcome, Linda. Okay, should we run the postcards just to get this thing up and running? Are we going to go straight onto the postcards?
Yeah, I mean, I reckon maybe we should just do the postcards and just see what happens.
I think so, because I think I found this a very interesting little exercise. We got everyone to send a postcard, and it was just literally hopefully all of you people in the studio. Maybe we should also, before we do the postcards, we just get the names for everyone in the studio, because they've not got the name necessarily. It's not business as usual. Yeah, but then we'll do the postcards. But for me, it was kind of interesting to see what people were coming up with. Anyway, so my name is Mikey, I should say. So let's just go with some names here in the studio.
Okay, I'm Margot.
I'm Marguerite.
And I'm sending a message.
Are you right, Linda? You're not on mute, so we hear what you're saying, but maybe that's the point.
Yeah. So we've got Margot, we've got Margarita. Who have we got over this side? Just test the mics as well.
I'm Timna.
Welcome, and
Simon
and
Gonzo.
Gonzo. Maybe you're a bit quiet there, Gonzo. Oh, no, maybe not. Okay, so and I'm Mikey. We've got Laura on the controls. Are you ready to do the postcards, Laura? Okay, we're just going to show some postcards just to get a feeling of where everyone's coming from. We're not going to describe or anything. We're just going to.
I mean, we're going to see them and then maybe just kind of have a chat about it.
Yeah.
Collectively, try to find out where.
Yeah.
What this is. Where is this?
So if you just take off the key function on the ATEM Mini, Laura, then you're just on the right hand side, that top right. Yeah. So yeah, this is actually my one. So this is where I'm not going to do a commentary on all of them. Hopefully people can see this. Maybe turn the screen around a little bit for us people in the studio.
We also have a pin. You can pin the screen as well. So you know this.
Thanks.
Oh, we're going with all of them.
Why not?
They're in a very random order as well.
Is this the second time around?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Oh, I think you just downloaded.
Oh, this is an actual postcard.
Try that on that one.
Okay, is that it? Is that the last postcard?
No.
There's more? Okay, all right. This is our studio.
Oh, recognize this person.
You will recognize, yeah. There's no need to be sheepish about it.
No idea. Some kind of. Oh yeah.
because we didn't route the sound through. Then we're back to the beginning again. Okay. There we are. Great stuff from Laura. Thank you, Laura. Laura, can you just... Oh, no, actually, we can't really zoom in, can we? Because then we're going to miss out on some of the participants here. But, okay, so we've done the postcards. Hopefully that gives a flavour of where we're all coming from.
I mean, I wonder whether it's worth. I mean, are there any kind of immediate thoughts that people have? Were there any postcards that kind of stood out? Obviously, apart from those which are yours, and you're like, yeah, that's my postcard. That's what I did. But are there any postcards that maybe surprised you? Anything that was kind of there that, caught your attention?
Any reaction to the postcards?
Okay, we've got a hand up from Henry.
Henry,
Hey,
talk
Henry.
to us.
Hi, how you doing? I'm happy to be part of this conversation. And one thing that stood out from the postcards for me was I noticed a number of participants were close to a river or a lake or an ocean. I don't know if that is symbolic, but maybe we'll be able to get to know along the way. And also the other thing that stood out for me was how diverse we are in background and where we are right now, because I could see people who were in the city, others who were in the farm, someone who was by the train. It was diverse. Yep.
I think that's a very good point. And the water element, I think, is quite interesting. It connects us. I've got my water here.
I noticed there was a field of lavender. If I'm not like, is it right now or?
Who's responsible for the
Come
field
on,
of lavender?
Ellen, explain the lavender.
Oh, that's my one. That's Mayfield Lavender Farm. It's just on the outskirts of London. I guess I included it because it's symbolic of the last 2 years. When I went to the farm, I lost my sense of taste and smell, so I couldn't smell the lavender, and I also couldn't taste all of the lavender flavored foods. And I just love being around nature, so that was kind of an interesting time. But it was still beautiful to take in the visuals, but couldn't really experience a full sensory.
So hang on a sec. You lost your sense of smell. How did you lose your sense of smell?
You know, because due to COVID, it was just one of the results of me catching COVID. And this was actually months later. I lost it for many months, and going to the farm really made me see that, wow, I still can't smell anything. And it had been like 8 months or so since I first lost it. So yeah, it was just a nice memory. And also it's in London, and I just love being around nature. And so that was my submission.
Amazing. So I think this is, in a way, we're seeing the story of the last couple of years. Any other responses, reactions?
Would that be okay, or is that
can we run
too out there?
We could potentially run the slideshow in the background. It's
I forgot what they were. And
okay.
I think, Kate, you've got your hand up as well, but let's get the postcards up. And yeah, go ahead, Kate.
I wondered what's in an egg roll.
Who's responsible for the egg roll?
Someone explain this to us.
Kate, are you talking about the postcard which actually looked like a postcard? Somebody actually...
Yeah, and it had a picture of a delicious looking egg roll, but I love egg things, so I'd love to know what's inside.
Do we have a person who contributed? Who was it?
Yeah, and this is clearly your role in life.
Well, clearly it's not my role in life, is it?
No, I'm talking to the person who put the egg roll there with the postcard, the lovely handwritten postcard. Who was that?
And if it's nobody from the present company, just make it up.
Yeah.
Okay. It looked like some kind of, I don't know, just a wrap.
Maybe it
Big
was like a
fancy wrap.
misdirected postcard.
You know which one?
Oh, Irene, you're saying you can explain. Irene, do you want to come in and explain on this?
Yeah, so
Explain.
yeah, so there's this joke that goes around Kampala that says in Uganda we don't wear Rolex, we eat them, and they are so it is a flatbread that is called chapati, and so they make an omelette, and you could have that with maybe avocado or onions or tomatoes that are raw, and you just wrap it. And you have like a roll, yeah. So it's called a Rolex,
So
but some people call it
This is the
a
famous Rolex.
yeah.
Okay, so that's the Ugandan Rolex we're looking at there.
Elam, you've got your hand up, but thank you for this abundant explanation, Irene. Second time made that gag. It's getting a bit old now, but
Irene, you mentioned that the flatbread is called chapati, but isn't chapati from India? I'm just curious about that link.
Yes, so with the Indians coming to the coast on the East African coast from Kenya, we have a lot of influence in our language, and we have some words that are in Swahili, and some of them are in our everyday language. So I think with the Arabs infiltrating the inner parts of East Africa, there was a lot of words that we kept. Maybe they sounded fancy or just easy, compared to the normal dialect. But yeah, chapati is Indian, but I think it came from the Arab language that came to East Africa, and we just kept it. Yeah, but you're right.
thanks,
Yeah,
Sophie. I'm also curious about, obviously there's a lot of kind of.
I sat on the sound effects machine.
That's very
Sorry.
easily done.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, I don't know, different kind of nature, and I think there's the kind of urban nature, the kind of right now behind us, the kind of neatly trimmed bushes, and whatever lavender. Although that looks quite natural, but then there are aspects of like very, very natural kind of I don't know, cows and whatever landscape. I mean, I'm just interested in the nature aspect of these postcards.
Well, I think, Henry was already there saying that a lot of us had water around us, but there's also this nature element as well. Doesn't it say maybe something about humans, about what they find interesting?
I don't know. Are we drawn to nature? I mean, in London, I think, I don't know. Are we drawn to nature? Is it just some kind of like a feature, something that just kind of makes things look nice?
Let's get some what do people in the studio think? 'Cause I feel like we talked to people online, but you're also here, Dimna.
I just thought about that in the tube while I was coming here, because I've never used this Emirate airlane thing, and I was like, what is it actually connecting? And then I thought maybe it's connecting people from one tower to another tower. And then I thought like, okay, but I would prefer to have something grounded, which is like actually connected to nature, or like deep underground. I mean, you could also fly, but this was just my thought.
I feel like maybe some explanation about this Emirates thing is in order. I don't know how many people know about the Emirates.
Maybe you could get a picture of it, Laura, up there.
But if you were to explain, I mean, like people in London, do you know about this? I mean, do people know about this Emirates thing? I know what you're talking about, but do people know?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I just saw it on the tube map, so I can't say anything.
You've been on it.
Okay. Oh my God, there's somebody on it.
Oh, so it's a funny to the the
I got scared.
air train.
Actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did it, I guess, a couple of months before for the first time in my life, and I was scared by the height.
So what is it exactly?
Like a funicular or whatever. You're putting yourself into a small cabin.
Yeah.
Small enough, and you're traveling somewhere high in the sky.
Okay.
It's not a plane. There are no
Yeah.
Nothing to.
Right.
So I was scared. I'm wondering if it was a windy. Oh my God, no, never,
Mm.
never again.
So it is a kind of mode of communication, like as if
sort of
trains and buses
communication.
weren't kind of enough.
Yeah.
There's this kind of in the air line,
Yeah,
well, not an airline, line in the air,
Not
but
an
not,
airline.
something like that.
Cable line, I would say. Probably.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, cable car
Cable
or
and
something like that.
Cable cabin.
But that was
Yeah.
kind of dissociated from the nature. Was that maybe a
Yeah.
little bit
Yeah,
scary
so
for you?
I don't know which parts of London does this funicular connect? Do you know that?
I guess somewhere in Greenwich, northern Greenwich, like that.
Okay.
From the south part of London to northern.
Yeah.
From south bank of Thames to the northern.
Okay. It goes across the river.
Yeah. So my thought was actually I didn't know which parts of London this funicular connects to each other, and in my fantasy, so it was just my brain idea was like maybe it connects people from one tower, like a skyscraper, to another, and then it was like they would not have to get in contact with nature anymore because they would then just like go from one tower to the other, and I was like, okay, I wouldn't like this idea because I would like to be in touch and connected with nature, like going into like a field or like a lavender field.
Laura's found the great video,
that
which is
the favorite, the lavender area. But anyway, sorry, Karen. Yeah, this is the way of having a visualization of what you've just been talking about.
This is the Emirates airline, what it's like to be on it.
Do they call
inside.
it airline?
Yeah. Apparently they call it an airline. It is confusing. Ellen.
Can I just say something? Oh, sorry.
Oh no, continue, Evelina.
Thank you. I'm a big fan of this cable car situation, and I used to live very nearby. The idea for it being built was to connect people from one part of the river to the O2 Arena, where loads of things are happening, but it was very difficult to get to from very nearby. So you could see the place, but you couldn't get there. And so it was first a Transport for London initiative, but then the Emirates took it over, the airlines, and they promoted it. And now in order to use it, you have to queue for hours. So it's no longer, it's got nothing to do with what someone was saying, that it used to connect people, and it used to connect people to a certain place. But now it's just like a tourist attraction.
Okay.
I mean, what are the kind of connections in Uganda, though? I wonder. I mean, how do people get around there? I mean, we're based in London, but
yeah, I mean, I guess specifically in Kampala, what is the transport like in Kampala? I mean, how do people normally get around? Are there trains, buses, taxis? I see some smiles here. Irene, do you want to say something?
Yeah. So when you're asking that question, I just imagine there's a part in Kampala that is mainly for traders, and it has like this very huge corridor, so to say. And if you stand at the beginning of it or at the end of it, you just see people like all together. And in the evening, when you're going back home, you'll see like a mass of people just moving. So moving around in Kampala, I'd say there's a lot of people walking. I think there's a time on CNN or BBC, one of those channels, they showed that Kampala, Uganda has one of the healthiest population because of the amount of people walk.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of people that walk, and then the second one would be border borders, the motorcycles. Those get you where you need to be fast. They might not be the safest, but they're very convenient. And then we have taxis, the matatus, yeah, and buses, I think, for long journeys. Yeah.
Okay, so, I think we start, I mean, it's interesting. I don't really know, I have to say, and this is part of our working method, so I've got a good excuse. I don't really know what I'm doing here, but that is part of really how we're working, because I think but what I'm feeling here is like I feel like the first thing we need to do here to share skills and to understand each other is just get a sense of where we're coming from. And so, I think the postcards work very well, but also this conversation about the commonalities and the Calvin, did you have a point there? Calvin, was that you wanting to say something, Calvin? No? Okay. But yeah, I think it's really interesting to find out about some of these questions and some of the where we're coming from. Well, what do people think around here? I mean, is it fascinating? What would you like to know about Kampala or London? I will say as well, not everyone is on the Uganda side is coming in from Kampala, and not everyone on the UK side is coming in from London. So there's also other perspectives as well, which I think we saw on the postcards. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, has anyone got any questions? Go on, Ellen.
I want to find out about how much does it cost to use public transport in Uganda? How much does the buses cost? Yeah, I was quite curious about that.
And can you like hire someone to take you around? This is my question, just to add on to your one. Can you hire someone to take you around on a motorbike, or do you just only get to use your own personal motorbike? How much? I'll go on. Isaac.
Yes. So because I used to be a driver, I used to like drive people from the airport to Kampala, which is the capital city. So it is around 38 kilometers from the airport to Kampala, and someone pays like 150 Uganda shillings. I don't know how much that is in like dollars or euros, something like that. But also there is no like proper structure when it comes to like prices. So it depends on how far you are going. It depends on what type of transport you're using. Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how much is transport? I mean, is that something that people do? I mean, do you kind of take transport frequently, or how do people get around? I mean, are things kind of in a how much distance is it between different places?
So when you're using a border, the prices, so the border, the like types of bikes that are originally made from India, and then so a border starts from like 1,000, depending on the journey, 1,000 shillings, 2,000. So maybe if you're going, I would say like maybe 1 kilometer, you'd pay like 1,000 shillings. Also, depending on the area you are, prices change. When you're in like a rural setting, kind of like a village, then the price is cheaper, and when you're in like a city centers, it's more expensive. So like for a kilometer, it can take maybe 2,000 if you're in Kampala, or like 2,500, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll find out how much that is in pounds shortly. Oh, thank you. That's 0.21. 1,000 shillings is 0.21 pounds, so 20 pence. Yeah.
Also, Louise, you've made an interesting point on the chat, and you saying the way you are, people are more isolated. Maybe. Do you want to expand that thought?
Yeah, sure.
Also, just acknowledging that Henry and Totem, you both have got your hands up as well.
Should I go first?
Go, Louise.
I was just wondering if the fact that everybody's walking around Kampala means that community is more, there's more community engagement. Does that mean there's more street markets, street connection, people see each other more, whereas where I am in rural England, or even in London, everybody's in a car,
Right.
everybody's in their own little bubble, and you keep your head down. And even on the tube in London, you keep your head down, you know, and you don't engage with people. Is there a more of a sense of community because everybody's out on the street walking?
Okay, so that's question number one.
Yeah.
And Totem, do you want to? We can't hear you, Totem. We hear, Calvin, a little bit of background noise from you. But Totem, if you're gonna speak, just unmute yourself and then we'll be able to hear you. We can't hear you.
You just need to unmute yourself there, Totem.
Whilst you do that,
So maybe I can answer.
Go on, Linda.
Sorry about that.
Yes.
Oh, hang on. No, okay, we got Totem now. We'll come to you in a second, Linda. Go on. Totem?
But at least like, I just want to say that I'm honored. It's an honor to be on. So I need to say hi to everyone.
You can't really.
Hearing me?
it's breaking up. But maybe try again.
No, I was saying like we're having technical difficulties that are now like on. Because I was not hearing I was not hearing everyone speaking.
I think maybe Totem, if you don't mind dropping that into chat, that may be easier because I think the internet connection, I mean, we're talking about connection, talking about isolation, but I think that's one of the reasons why we're doing this project. And I think internet and kind of practicalities and Calvin, you mentioned COVID has kind of reduced the amount of people who take public transport. So maybe that's kind of impacted the connection. But Henry, Totem, jot your comments on the chat and bring it up. And Henry, why don't you give us your thoughts, and then we go to
I think Linda wanted to say something as well, trying to explain the situation with how the walking is working. So
yeah, I think Linda can go first, and maybe I'll add something later.
Okay, Linda.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Linda Nabasa, an artist here in Uganda. Yes, I've been hearing, and just to answer the lady, in Uganda we are lots and lots of people, and we actually have more of a sense of community because each family can have almost like at most 8 to more members in each family, brothers and sisters. So when it goes out to our streets, we have taxis, which are 14-seater. And then we also go to the 32-seaters, the bigger ones. So when it comes to transportation, really, it's a very big mode of transport that we use here, borders and then taxis. But then also the people that choose to walk are quite very many, that even though the economy has been opened, because now COVID is not really that of a threat, now people are just used to walking because before the borders had been stopped and taxes had been stopped. And currently, right now, we have a lot of inflation in Uganda. It is quite a lot. So people are choosing to walk most of the times because fuel prices are very high.
Right.
Yeah, so people will even walk 5 kilometers just to come into the city. Yeah, prices are very high. But when it comes to a sense of community, most people here in Uganda live in a large communal setting, like 8 family members. Even you can find families that are more than 10. Yeah.
And what about this question that Louise asked about, does all these people walking, does it lead to some conversations? Do you say hello to those people that you're walking with, or do you start a conversation? Or
Definitely. Do you see, like on a border, it's the driver and you. But I assure you, you'll have a conversation with him.
Okay.
He'll start a conversation on Iraq and maybe on Ukraine and Russia and tell you, oh, what are your thoughts? Have you been hearing on the news? It's very common. Or even when you go to the markets, people are having different conversations. Here it's communal greet. Because I know sometimes in Europe, like most people, like, you don't really greet strangers and everybody's looking down and walking. But here, like, you have to greet everybody. Oh, hello, hi, hello. And that's how the conversations really start. Yeah, or even people asking for directions. Yeah.
What are people saying about Iraq or Ukraine and Russia, and what kind of things are they saying?
Yeah, no, like border guys are saying, oh my God, we may die because Russia has a lot of nuclear weapons. I think it's all the hearsay, like from the local televisions and local stations that are hyping it up so much. Because anyway, right now it's in the news. Yeah.
Okay.
Like Russia has a lot of nuclear weapons, and who's winning or who do you support? Yeah.
I wonder whether the way in which the news is being reported in our different countries, and I mean, okay, we're talking about Uganda and UK, but I think people are, this is my assumptions, this is what I think, that maybe people are from more countries than just UK and Uganda, and they wonder whether news is being reported differently on different issues.
Yeah.
Anyway, Henry had his hand up. He even he may have gone and lie down.
Yeah. Sorry, Henry. Let's come to you.
All right. Thank you. I think Linda made very good remarks, but I wanted to add a little depth to the conversation of transport in Kampala, to say that it's important for us also to know that Kampala has a very huge divide in terms of the economic well-being of the people, so that there is quite a divide between the haves and have-nots. There is a section of people who are a bit well off, and then there are people who stay in the slums and things like that. So while contextualizing the transport mode and all this comes also into play. As a matter of fact, a number of things are changing a bit in the transport sector. For example, we've seen entry of systems, for example, ride hailing like Uber and Bolt taking up route in Kampala mainly. And also in the border industry, the motorbike transportation, we have a flagship company called Safe Border, which has sort of revolutionized how border operates. So mostly the likes of Uber, Bolt, Safe Border are used by people who are a bit corporate, the young type who are corporate and all. And then, as my colleagues from Kampala said, the other majority of Kampala dwellers are either using the normal matatus, or they're walking to work, or they're using the other random borders. So yes, I felt that was important also for just the context of what the transportation looks like.
Thank you, Henry. That's really good to sort of like get that sense. And, you know, I mean, I think for me, it's important as well for us to, you know, really, you know, I think really find out not just the, you know, the great things about each other's countries, but also what people think the problems are with each other's countries or with their own country, or, you know, I think we need to be quite honest about all of these things, really, if we're going to have a good collaboration. So I think things like this, you know, this question of disparity of wealth, is it a problem in London as well? That anyone from this side want to say it, Gonzo?
So yeah, I live in Tower Hamlets,
Yeah.
and that is like 20 minutes walk from City of London, and it is one of the poorest boroughs in London. But so yeah, I can see the difference between the city kind of more corporate world or kind of population and the more kind of family oriented and community oriented people living in Tower Hamlets. And
so you're saying there's a bit of disparity of wealth happening in London as well? Is it? I mean, it's hard to know.
I mean,
yeah.
it's maybe no. I mean, yeah. There's disparity, definitely.
Yeah.
How that translates like to other places.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably just a word, disparity. But I was interested in more of a question. Does anyone in Uganda is using actually kind of transportation or communication lines as an inspiration for their art, and are they kind of actually working? I don't know, maybe. I don't know, painting the what was the name of the motorbike?
The Buddha.
Yeah,
is
the
it
Buddha. Yeah, maybe someone is actually
Buddha.
kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that something for someone?
Well, like one of the Talkaoke techniques, and this is some of the things that you're going to be learning over the next few sessions is what we call turning the mirror. When someone asks a question like that, you know, the inspiration is transport or any of those things an inspiration for your creative work, Gonzo?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a part of kind of rhythm of the city, and kind of it adds the lines to the city, and it adds so it
What is your
definitely
creative-
influences you kind of go. For instance, tube lines are perfect transport where you can read and kind of pick up information. So for me personally,
what is your creative practice? What do you do?
I'm a musician. I write music and I compose electronic music. So it is quite rhythmic and inspired by urban environments.
Okay, so it's inspired by the urban environment. Interesting. Okay, and that, I guess that question goes out there. Are you inspired by some of these questions? Does it feed into whatever your artwork is?
I once heard, I mean, I don't know if there are any musicians on this call apart from Gonzo, but I once heard this theory that apparently whatever contemporary music is, it kind of reflects the spirit of the times. So for instance, when there was like a when people were kind of taking drugs, there was like a big kind of rave scene that was really reflected in the music. The tempo of the music was much higher. And then for instance, now there's a lot of this kind of, I don't know, like industrial sounds, people living in urban environments. I think in London there's like trap music is very popular, and you kind of hear this kind of like a gun, I don't know, like reloading gun sounds in the music, and we just kind of absorb that. That's our reality. And I mean, supposedly, or maybe that shapes how we see reality. I don't know, but I wonder what maybe some of the musicians and people in Kampala think about music. Does it reflect our times? Or,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Tatum, did you want to say something? No. Let's
we've got a hand up from.
I don't think that is Elam though.
It's not Elam.
No,
but it's someone else. A man in a black shirt who's called Elam.
Yeah. My name is Colin.
Colin.
Hey,
okay,
Colin.
we'll just rename you there. But go on, Colin.
Yes. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. So I am also a musician. I play the guitar and the piano. I also produce some music. But I think is for us in Uganda at the moment, there's a lot of. Can everyone hear me? Can everybody hear me?
You are breaking up, Colin.
Yeah.
So maybe your speaker, maybe your headphones.
I think
I'm
it
not
might be
sure.
the microphone.
The
There,
microphone on your headphones may be the issue.
Oh.
It's better now.
Okay. Is it better? Yes. Okay.
Oh, it's still.
I think the only way to do it is if you try and stay very, very still, like almost like a statue, so you don't wobble the microphone.
Don't touch us,
please. Okay.
Yeah, that's working. That's working. Just say, yeah, go on.
Okay, great. I just said that I'm a musician. I'm not moving, by the way. I'm a musician, and there's a lot of influence from the West. I think very many musicians are trying to make music. Can you hear me?
I think we got the fact that you're a musician and something about the trap music, but that's about it. So maybe you're gonna have to type the rest of it in the chat there. Sorry, Colin, but we are fighting technical issues here, and that's always going to be the way. So I guess maybe you can write it down. Have we got any other musicians from Uganda? Isaac, I know that you're actually a musician, so maybe you could say a little bit about this. What inspires your music? Is it the urban environment? Is it something else?
So My inspiration of music first is from what we're going to be writing about. Like I said, I mentioned sometime, what we normally do is we will go to maybe like some of the slum areas in Uganda, and then we will identify kind of like a community issue, and that is what we base what we write on about.
Can you give us an example of a community issue that you've written about?
So we've written about because we have in Uganda here we have people, when you go for shopping in like a supermarket or our local shops somewhere, they would give you like a small polythene bag to carry your whatever you would have bought, and that is causing a lot of like pollution, you know, because there is no proper waste disposal of like maybe the plastic bottles, the polythene papers, I mean bags, and that is one of the issues we've written about. So we wrote a song in connection to that and nature. And then also there is HIV/AIDS in Uganda, which I know that quite a big number of people have like family members that are living with HIV. So we've written something about that as well. And there are also like different problems or issues that we've written about. Yeah.
I've got a question, Isaac. What was your postcard? And I wonder whether we can kind of pause on your postcard. I'm just interested what you kind of brought into the mix as well.
Okay.
But
So
that's a question to Laura, if she can find that in the meantime.
Yeah,
But
Laura's just giving you a look like.
I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you actually kidding me? But no,
Yeah.
because I'm just interested, because from just kind of seeing the reel of all the postcards, I think more or less my impression is, I mean, perhaps it's just my impression, but everybody's having a really lovely surroundings. But now we're talking about some issues, but like I mean, maybe apart from you, Margarita, because I think your one, I know this was yours because you were in that postcard, very clever there. You were in some kind of a protest, but it seems like everybody's surroundings are pretty damn chillaxed. So,
Yeah,
what
but
issues
I
are we
mean,
talking about?
have you ever sent a postcard with loads of plastic waste on it? You wouldn't choose that as a postcard.
Why
innit?
not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's surrounding.
Margarita, go ahead.
Yeah.
Regarding the plastic waste or regarding my surroundings, the area where I'm based in London, it's very.
Okay, we got the postcard, so we'll put that in the background. Yeah, go on.
Okay. So I'm in London. I'm based in a very sleepy, quiet suburb called Greater London. So that's in between the tube station where the train terminates and the train station. So, and I don't know if something happens there. I moved into this area like about 3 years ago. And I have no idea if there is any sort of community or whatever, people living with their children, sending them to school, and I don't know.
But the postcard you sent wasn't of that, was it? It was of you
I demonstrated my street.
Yeah.
And but to show where find myself often these days, I demonstrated to you the demo at the Trafalgar Square, as I'm Russian and my country is bombing Ukraine at the moment, and it's killing people, and that's unbearable. So most, and I would not say most, but many Russians. So I would go there often when I can.
Okay, so
and
your
to do
postcard
something.
was actually, I think that's the point.
So that was emotional at the moment.
The point that Margot was making is your postcard is of something not necessarily nice, but something you're doing a lot, which is demonstrating about the war between Russia and Ukraine. But I think most people wouldn't put something. But I didn't put something bad in my postcard. I put the canal where the people live on the boats. But,
I mean, what did people put on the postcards? I mean, there's a chat on the chat, so thank you, Louise. So Louise is saying perhaps next time we should put postcards of the things that aren't so great about our surroundings. But who wants to talk about their postcards? Is there anything they kind of put on it? Would you change it? Would you keep it as is? Would you send postcard with a plastic pollution issue on it, or a protest?
I mean, this, I
Is
guess.
it like muddying
yeah.
the waters? Like, is it kind of creating too much aggro?
I mean,
Everybody's
there's
got
also
issues.
a question, I suppose, about art as well. And should we be focusing on all the bad things that are happening? And there are plenty of them. We've heard a lot about, we've heard about poverty, we've heard about pollution, HIV, COVID, but these are not things we chose to reflect in our postcards.
But if it presents me at the
Yeah.
moment, I would put on my postcards the things which present me at the moment.
Yeah. Louise.
Yeah, I was definitely looking for something lovely to put on my postcard, a sort of wish you were here moment. Because it is very beautiful where I am, but like at the river where I swim, one of my postcard shots, the lifesaver ring has got graffiti all over it, and just out of shot often there's loads of trash, because it's quite a popular swimming spot. And the locals get really pissed off because it is so popular and people come and swim. And all through lockdown, people were swimming. Like, it's not far from a university setting out here in Bath. And it was like all the way through lockdown, there were maybe 200 or 300 people there, kids there, almost every day through the warmer months. And as a parent of teenagers, frankly, although my swimming was interrupted by all these kids, having a good time, as a parent, I was delighted that they were there, that these kids were having were out of their dorm rooms and sitting in a field and swimming in the river. But it might be a nice provocation to send another postcard that isn't quite so rosy. I definitely sent a postcard.
You ever made any art about plastic waste?
I have, yeah. I've got a show called the Disco Litter Queens, and we play disco music and pick up litter and do disco flash mobs. So we do dance workshops with the locals and get them to come and do a disco flash mob, and then we all pick up litter around town. So
there's already, we found a commonality between you and Isaac in terms of the plastic waste, using that as a focus. There's not, I mean, maybe it's the postcard thing. I don't want to just kind of make this sweeping statement that we only want to look at the nice things, because obviously a postcard is the nice things, but it's a question of, I suppose one of the questions here today and in our work is, what do we want to actually focus on with our art? Ellen, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, it was just going to go back to Isaac's conversation about working with the community in, as you said, a slum in Uganda. But I'm wondering, the people in the community, like, did they feel they were living in a slum? Did they think that there was an issue with plastic waste? And like, yeah, what's their view of where they live? Did they think there was an issue with the rubbish around? Or I'm just wondering what their postcard would look like if they were to create one themselves, And the slum, would they call where they live a slum? I'm just curious.
So one of the things that most of the times when we go and we're doing like outreaches and we're teaching people about maybe like the negative effects of using throwing polythene papers just anywhere, is they would say, I have already used it. So what use do I have for it? And from that perspective, they don't really see most people don't really see why they need to properly dispose them of. They don't even know if there is anything else that can be used, after you've like maybe finished drinking your bottle of water. They don't know if there is something else that can be used, you can use the bottle for. So but after some time of like engaging people, you would see that the is positive. Their response is positive. They would start even. So now we have some areas where they would collect the plastic bottles and then we would use them. We have like some projects where we run with children where we use plastic, waste, make maybe musical instruments. to make maybe clothes like from polythene and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's quite interesting about people's attitude to waste, because it's a big subject here, you know, and your environment as a whole. How do you treat your environment? Is it your responsibility? I think you was also saying, Isaac. Just want to come back to what Colin has written in the chat. Is that what you are having your?
No, I just wanted to just on the subject of bringing, you know, how do we view our environment and you know, is something an issue? Is it art? Can it be something else? I think somebody had a postcard of Hackney Wick, and I think Hackney Wick is an area of. I mean, anyway, that whoever's postcard that was, but if that person's there, I was just wondering, because we've done some projects around Hackney Wick, and people complain about street art, but some people say like, no, street art is beautiful, but no, it's vandalism. So I mean, it's just like, which one is it? And is it about educating people? Look, you don't understand. This is, you know, I don't know, as artists, do we need to educate people, or do we, like, what is our role as artists? But I'm interested in the Hackney Wick.
Okay, I mean, there's also a lot of waste and stuff like that. But I also want to get some contributions for some of the people that haven't said anything yet. People like Simon, people like Rachel and Teddy haven't said anything. I'm going to also read out Totem's point as well, unless you want to read it out.
So Totem is saying no. Sorry, Colin is saying no.
Oh no, there's two. There's Totem and Colin have said something. So let's just read them both out.
Okay, so Colin was saying, I was saying about music, that music mainstream in Uganda is influenced so much by the trends in what's trending on the African continent. Nigeria's Afrobeats and South Africans Amapiano, but there is a different breed of musicians who play live music and are influenced a lot by the West, as well as trying to figure out what our original sound might be. So they use local instruments and fuse with traditional Western instruments to create world music or R&B or jazz. So I'm interested in this idea of influenced by the West.
Yeah.
Great, or
influenced by other parts of Africa.
And Calvin said, I think the people know that they have disposed of the waste, but the question is, what have responsible institutions done about it or provided? Because awareness is created over here. Okay, so this is back to kind of the plastic pollution. So is the responsibility about the pollution environment with the individual people, or is it with the bigger organizations? And finally, Totem is saying, so I'm trying to catch up, but my sound and internet is not very okay, but we'll try to sort out access needs for the next one and make it internet. But like in postcard, there is graffiti painting on the wall made by young and passionate community artists, and also on one of my photos, as well as I was moving with a group of young creatives, the fact that I come from a community where are no or only a handful of safe creative spaces for young people to question about life, expressing themselves. So there's a lack of kind of creative space for people to even have these types of debates. That's physical spaces. So there are three things, plus people with their hands up, plus Simon in the studio who was going to say something. I reckon.
So it's all kicking off.
It's all kicking off basically, and we've got 25 minutes.
Yeah. And we also want to talk about the project that we want you to do for the next time as well.
That's later.
I
reckon let's go to Simon, because
Simon.
So you asked about the graffiti and.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I like graffiti a lot. Like the kind of the origin of this style of graffiti comes from like hip hop in New York, and I think that's kind of bled over here because we're US light, aren't we?
Does it matter that we're influenced by America so much? Do you think
it does in a political sense? Like we have elected a crazy person because he's good at talking to people who don't really understand as well, which is exactly what happened over there. We do everything what they do, but slightly less. And our left and our right are becoming more and more opposites when we were a very centralist country. So I think we're going more and more in the bad side of them, as well as some of the good.
But
good
nevertheless, that's what people find cool, and they're influenced by this New York graffiti, and there's a lot of it in this particular part of London.
Yeah, and Hackney Wig's a good part of it. They have that massive tunnel, which is just commissioned art. Like they're allowing it. It's on purpose, and it's kind of bleeding out into like Soho. They're doing it now on the walls. And, a lot in Brick Lane area. There's loads of commissioned work, which I think is great. It's just when people do it for fun, people don't like that when it's uncommissioned. But
I mean, what is your work, and does graffiti influence your work?
No, I write screenplays and recently started getting into directing, but I definitely would want to do something that highlights that subculture. I really like subcultures. I'm interested in like really niche groups of people who love doing something specific, like Isaac's music element. It sounds really interesting. Like a really small amount of people are focusing on this one subject, and that's what graffiti art is like to some people. This is what they do. They just do graffiti all day, every day.
So it's a subculture, and people get very kind of obsessed, and they kind of, that's their identity in a way. And maybe that's a really interesting point to sort of bring in here, that that art informs people's identity, and there's all these subcultures happening. That's a really interesting point. Rachel, you wanted to say something?
Hiya.
Hello.
Good to see you all. So I had a question, kind of thinking about Isaac's like description on the projects that you've done, and then also in the chat, Joel describes like a lack of safe creative spaces for young people. And I just wanted to put out to the group a question about, like, we've talked about the role of the artist, but I'm interested in like how you, as an artist, are supported or not within like your own locality.
What do you mean by that? I mean, how I'm going to once again turn the mirror. Rachel, you supported as an artist in your locality.
And maybe we can get your postcard as
And
well.
what is your locality?
Sure. So I'm not actually an artist. I'm a curator. So I support artists amongst other folks. So the mirror element is that I'm based in Aberdeen. Aberdeen is in the northeast of Scotland on the UK. So in terms of support for my own practice, I can go to like a national public funding body like Creative Scotland. This project is supported by the British Council, but I think on a local level in Aberdeen, we've had decades worth of oil and gas, really like defining lots of aspects of society, but also the creative sector within that. And I'm kind of interested in what the conditions of practice are within people's locations, because I think it varies, like even between, a UK context, thinking about maybe, is it Louise's rural location, the location of London, the location of Aberdeen, these all have like really particular sets of support systems.
Rachel, while you're on, you know, about support, is support just about money, or is there other elements to supporting artists?
Yeah, of course. So I suppose I'm thinking about the money, because of course that's important. I think maybe infrastructure and spaces for artists, definitely relationships to like bringing folks together, which, this project is, I can see all the faces on the screen, and that's like beautiful and important. So yeah, a few more things.
Okay, so it's still not just money, it's the spaces and connections that I'm going to just summarize. Did you want to say something, Tim, now?
I totally agree with you, Rachel. I also thought maybe mental support, kind of the like encouraging. I think this is one part where I would say, I think a couple of times it's important like to say somebody, doing just a great job. And
okay, so mental support, encouragement, you really mean? Yeah, okay. Encouragement. Is there a lot of, we know that there's not a lot of money in Kampala to support artists, because we had that. So let's just get that out of the way. But in terms of, are there spaces and encouragement for artists? Could there be more money for artists? These are all really big questions. What I want to throw this out, I know there's people in the UK want to answer this as well, but I want to throw this back to Uganda to begin with. Calvin.
Hey, yes, I think we do have the spaces of late since like a couple of years. It was really hard for creatives, musicians, people who like painting canvas, filmmakers, name it all. But it's very exciting that we have spaces that have come up and are giving platform to artists to create, produce, and exhibit their work, which is highly like interesting. Yeah, when it comes to money, I think the spaces are quite expensive. So I think for you to be able to execute an exhibition or produce your work and put it out there, definitely need like a number of connections to help you do that. And also think that yes, we do have a lot of potential and talent. And I just pray that actually we just get more spaces where we can meet with different artists and try to create more works, try to exhibit. Also, and I think we need to like use the available like local spaces that are not occupied, nothing fancy, to still carry out our exhibitions and put out our work there. It's not, I think, about what spaces have been provided, but as you an artist, how can you create your own space to make your content visible to the world and to the public? But yes, yeah.
I'm just gonna go. There's a Totem has put in a comment as well. Me as an artist, the forms of support we get from the community are limited, but we rely so much on the power of the community or the power of the other. We bond together and support each other's work through collaborations, or help an artist to produce his or her own community art in a culture event. So I think that's a really good point there from you, Totem. And maybe that could also be part of the collaboration, and that sense of encouragement and enthusiasm that we can all give to each other.
I mean, whilst Calvin, you were talking about spaces, I saw you nodding your head, Irene, and I wondered whether you know there were kind of themes that you can relate to. And I also wanted to kind of throw out the question. We were talking about trends and influences. I mean, what do people think? Are there trends in art right now? Is it cool to make community art now? Is it cool to do issue-based art? Like, I mean, what are the trends in Kampala? What are the trends in Uganda? Or is everybody just doing participatory art because that's really what, in right now?
Okay. All questions on a big pile of questions.
Yeah, but I just want to kind of and also just kind of people be aware we've got 15 minutes left. So if you haven't spoken, if there's something that you kind of have some thoughts, even half-formed thoughts, it's fine. Just throw them in.
Also, we need to hit people with this little project we wanted them to do. So we need to have the time.
We'll do it in the last 5 minutes.
Last 5 minutes. Okay. All right. So those people that haven't spoken yet, please do come in and say something or write something in the chat. And me or Margot will read it out. Maybe we can get some other people to read it out.
Maybe I can suggest if somebody wants to speak and their internet connection breaks out, and maybe they can turn off the camera and kind of save the bandwidth of the internet, and that's how we would be able to hear. That's just a suggestion.
Okay. Great. Henry wants to hear from Babaluku. So if you've got something to say, Babaluku, do unmute yourself.
I don't know how to put my hand up, so I'm just gonna have to speak over you.
Just like that.
What you do is you can put your hand up on the video as you've got a nice good bandwidth, but you can also go to reactions.
I think I'm in now.
Yeah.
I just wanted to about it being fashionable to work with people. I mean, for me, maybe it is fashionable. I'm not sure about that, but what I do know is that when I work with people, the pressure is off. Like, and it's not all about me. I mean, look, my practice revolves around talking with people and being out on the street with a dictaphone and a boom and inviting people to talk. And I can't really do that on my. I can't do that on my own, but ultimately, it takes a lot of the pressure off me to be able to do that. And I would have loved to have been there, but I think I've got COVID again, so I feel a bit under the weather. So do excuse my more muted self today.
Okay. So COVID is around. Yeah.
I'll get well soon.
Yeah.
I know. Thank you.
So there is.
So there's less pressure when we work with people. Is that the impression that other people have when you're putting on your exhibitions and you know, maybe there's not much funding, so you need to impress someone? I mean, is there a lot riding on making good quality art? What is good quality art? Do you make good quality art, people? Do I? What is it about? Quality?
Yeah.
Quality, prestige, the issues. Like, what's the art about for you guys?
Well, let's just get, I mean, I just want to say one of the points as well about Talkaoke, and this is today it's really been about getting to know the situation. But one of the things about Talkaoke is you get a lot of questions coming out. It's up to you really to choose which, if any of them you want to answer. And maybe you don't want to answer any of those questions, but the conversation is bringing something new into your mind. And it's actually those new thoughts that we want to hear. So, so that's really important. I just want to read out the text from Irene. One of the limitations I know has existed and has been a huge hindrance to art is the community itself not fully embracing or appreciating art, graffiti, etc. But I know over the years the older generation has let the young people be a part of the community development in their own way. I mean, how do you get the community on board, I suppose, is a really big question. And you know that the community can be resistant to what you're doing, or they can be encouraging, they can be embracing, or they can actually be both sometimes, which can be confusing, I think. I think we've had that experience. Let's hear from some of those people we haven't yet heard from. As Henry mentioned, Babaluku, we haven't heard from. Sophie, I don't think we heard from you. And Kate, did we hear from you? I'm not sure. Did we? I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah, we did earlier on, very early on. So don't feel like you can come back in if you want to. What are you thinking? I think is the question that I'm going to ask.
Ordinarily, that would be the final thoughts because an hour and a half has gone really quickly, actually. But so maybe it's about kind of final thoughts and kind of
I mean,
saying what's on your mind.
We've got a lot of people in this chat. So in a way, I would like to ask people, and this is supposed to be a skills lab. So it's also about what you would like to learn. We're going to be, I think, in the next session, focusing on some of the real skills of facilitation that hopefully we've demonstrated today, if not explained. So yeah, I mean, what are people thinking? Some of those people that haven't said anything, please do come and say hello or write something in the chat. We're hearing some more from Sophie now. One of the limitations in Uganda is unhealthy competition, not pushing each other's craft. So in a way, you're saying it's too competitive and not collaborative enough. Is that what you're saying, Sophie? I really like the question, how do you get the community on board? Okay, that's
any tips, anyone? You're welcome. Margaret said you've got a tip.
I guess the tip could be like this: you are arranging something like very understandable, very easy thing, like a community garden or community, I don't know what, community embroidery.
A community thing, embroidery.
A community thing, an embroidery class or whatever, and then you develop it into something which is bigger.
Yeah. Okay. So start small. Start with something that's understandable to
understandable and get trustable for people.
Get the trust going. Okay. So these are all important things about how to build up something in the community. Any tips from the Uganda side about Totem? You've done a lot of community projects. I know that. How do you build up the trust in the community? Kate, I'm really interested at the moment in the differences between participation and collaboration or co-creation, and what those words mean to different people. How do we define community? Says Rachel. Calvin. Just unmute yourself there, Calvin. Go on, Calvin. Oh, we lost Calvin.
Oh, no.
This is one of the questions, and I think, you know, it's something we've got to look into just from the technical side of how to just get that flow a little bit more smooth.
But I mean, it is somebody unmuting themselves. But I just wondered, I mean, because these are very, very good questions. I have been making some notes. Actually, that's not, you know, we will try to put this recording of this session out for everybody to access. But I guess maybe considering time, maybe you can just have a quick chat about the thing that we would like all of us and you guys to do for the next session. And I think for the next session, we just want you to maybe focus on one of the themes that we discussed, something that stood out for you, a question, a word, a problem, a positive thing. And we would like you to talk to someone else about it, just someone who's not here, someone from the community, whatever that is, because I don't think we kind of settled on how to define it. That question was just dropped just there towards the end, but we want you to grab a subject and ask a question about it to somebody who's not around this table or around the Zoom, and we'll use that as a jump off point for the next session. This is a very simple task. You can record that as an audio up to 3 minutes. You can send us a fragment of it. It can be a video. And if these things are a bit difficult, then just write it down. Just use good old pen and paper or pencil.
Yeah. Or a pencil.
Or a pencil, or or a marker pen, whatever. But the point is, you know, we kind of know what our thoughts are about these subjects, but what about the others? So this is our proposition ahead of the next session on 19th of March.
Do people, I just want to make sure people understand what the challenge we've set them is. Louise, you do understand? Yes. Any questions about it?
Or any ideas what subjects you may want to...
I mean, I'm just going to recap some of the things we've spoken about today. So we talked about, first of all, talked about kind of getting to know each other, some of the commonalities mostly in Kampala in London, but also in the UK and Uganda in terms of things like transport, disparity of wealth, plastic pollution we talked about, you know, what are the big issues, we talked about HIV, AIDS, we talked about war, the threat of nuclear war. Then we talked about engaging communities and how to get the community on side, reluctance in the community, support for artists, and what is really community art. We talked about subcultures was a really interesting point. We talked about inspirations. So these are some of the things we talked about.
I think there was also a very interesting question about identity, what forms identity and what inspires art. And also there was a question of competition versus collaboration. I mean, you know, as artists, I feel like we throw these words around, like, oh yeah, collaboration, yeah, totally down with that. But what does it mean to a person on the street? Like, would they even know what that means? I don't think my mom would get it, but you know, but that's just, yeah.
There's another point from Totem about I guess the relationship between young people, youths and adults. Maybe it's the role of the artist to bridge this gap, to get each other understanding the other perspective. Is that what you're saying there, Totem? So there's some really big questions. Do people understand the challenge that we've set them? We want you to really either make a video, an audio recording, or a written report, but we want it something to be very, very short. So it's
are you suggesting interviewing a dog? I don't know.
Well,
it's just a different non-human perspective.
We're all artists here, and you know, we're very open-minded, and you could interview a dog. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because we very rarely get the dog's perspective on life. Do people understand the challenge that we've set them? Isaac, were you going to say something? Yes, that's a yes from.
Oh,
I'm
Teddy
liking
gets
that.
it. Phew.
Ted, okay, so Teddy gets it. So Henry, have you got a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. If you don't mind, you could repeat the assignment. I didn't get it quite well.
So we just want you to basically, considering some of the themes we've talked about today. I mean, I don't know if you've got a favorite element or a favorite point that was made today, Henry. Do you have one? What was it for you, the highlight, the most interesting thing that someone said?
I think I naturally gravitated towards the people that are doing something to do with the environment.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit passionate about that as well. And one of the questions that has been lingering in my head one of these days, and I asked it to a friend already. I think I'll ask this very question again, and hopefully, with another person. It was, where does your trash go? Because I know in Kampala, it's a very big problem.
Yeah.
And I'll be curious to get some answers from a few people.
So I think there we go. That's pretty much the assignment, is to go and ask some people about trash, but ask them in a way where it's not just about the factual questions, but try to find out what they think about it or what's important to them about the trash question in Kampala. You know, how do they see it is really where we're going with this. It's not simply about, do you know where the trash goes? But what's your feeling about trash? What do you know? So I think it was Isaac that said, you know, most people just don't care. They just don't see a responsibility for their environment. Or is it actually the local authorities' responsibilities? These may be some of the questions, but try to find out what other people think about it and what their perspective, what they think the solution is, if there is one, or maybe they don't think there's a solution. Do you get what I'm saying, Henry?
Yes, I do get it much more clear now.
And then just maybe record that on the phone or with a video or whatever resources you have to hand to capture that conversation.
And I will just say, usually, I mean, it's easy for us to say, oh, let's make it 3-minute recording, but as you see here, once you get talking about a subject, by the time you get to the point that you want to make, a little bit more than 3 minutes may pass. So you may have to use your kind of curatorial eye just to give us a snippet of a conversation, not the whole thing. So just have a think about which 3 minutes you want to share or present, you know, at the next session. But we've got 2 weeks for that. And also the other thing I will say, because it's 12:30, we are putting together some learning resources which will be available to you soon. They will be about facilitation. Again, just something for you to maybe watch, have a think about, but don't overthink it. It's just part of the process. We will be looking at facilitation in due course, and at some point we will be getting you to facilitate parts of what's going on. But otherwise, there will be an email recapping some of the main themes, obviously not all of them, and maybe not the ones that you're interested in, but just the ones that I picked out from the conversation, and a little bit of an instruction of what's kind of happening and what's going on. But I think we kind of came to an end, to be honest. I think in London, we're just going to crack on with the snacks.
Yeah, we're going to crack on with the snacks, but this is more me, and this is part of my facilitation technique. I always like to get some final thoughts, just for that sense of closure. We got one or two, but if anyone's got any final thoughts for this session or moving forward, where Weary, you've got one, so you want to start us off, and we'll just quickly do that, even if we're running a few minutes late.
Yeah, no, for me, I think one of the things that is coming out from this conversation is the understanding of what Talkaoke really means and why we actually called our project Talkaoke. It's a gathering like this one that we're having, and having ideas come from different places and not being hierarchical in the sense of we don't have panelists. Everyone is a contributor to the conversation. And I think moving forward through these engagements as participants of this project, this is going to be the way, these are some of the skills that you're going to harness so that you can foster dialogue and conversations in your communities about the things that you've been talking about, the things that matter to you, like things around funding the arts, things around the environment and all that. Part of our engagement or part of our resolution as the team on this project is that we want every participant to sort of like foster these conversations and dialogues in their various communities, and that is for us our driving force, and that's why we call our project Talkaoke Skills Lab. So today was sort of like a way of just getting to know each and every one, getting to know what things we think about, and I'm pretty sure that the next session is going to be a little bit more hands-on and more engaging. And thank you very much for everyone that has contributed their ideas. I now feel like I'm in London already or in the UK, you know, but being in this space. And I know you can also empathize and also feel like you're in the Kampala or Ugandan space. So I think that's the beauty about this. And I'm looking forward to how this goes further. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm feeling the warmth from Kampala in so many ways. Let's get some final thoughts. Has anyone got a final thought? Babaluku, you've been asked to say something. Do you want to give us a final thought? Any thoughts on the session so far?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. It's really lovely to be able to journey in this conception of the conversation, especially with the postcards we used to see how, you know, the spirit of everyone is represented, the energy, the countries or the spaces that define, you know, their choices, you know, that they submitted. You know, it was really great to actually move through that. But beyond that is the interactive methodology that's been here that we've progressed with, you know, slowly but surely, you know, bending to, you know, each other's ways by experience, by relation, and by the ideas that we are all fostering, you know, to see, you know, moving forward in everything that we're doing. So I think that, you know, it's really great. The commencement of this, I can only wait to see where we, dive into and continue to grow to, you know. But I think it's really been a very beautiful, informative, in a very nice, settled way, comfortable, you know, encouraging. I like how everyone was comfortable to share. That was really beautiful, you know. So it was really lovely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Baba.
Yeah, and it's really great to hear you as well. That's a great way to wrap this up. Any other final thoughts from anyone? There's a heart coming for you, Louise.
Do we have a hard sound effect? I feel like we do.
We do, but it's kind of, that's not really the heart. It's not the right
It's just to
heart.
leave it on that kind of anticipation.
Any other final thoughts? Eugene, you've not said anything. Have you got an initial and final thought for us?
I can have a suggestion.
Yeah, okay, Margarita.
Suggestion instead of a final thought. I wonder if it could be useful to bring next time to the next session something which, an item or an object which would represent you and tell a bit about it, just to start with, like a warming up exercise. Something could be like
what would you bring?
Could be a piece of this plastic waste or whatever, or something what they're thinking about, or something which represents what is meaningful for you, or something which makes you resilient, or whatever. But
that triggers some kind of emotional response.
Like emotional response, and something which like a proxy for you.
Yeah.
Somehow, I'm wondering just to to tell a very short story about that, or somehow
So
few sentences.
So maybe bring an object that offer is out there to anyone who wants to bring an object.
Yeah,
or the alternative postcard with all the crap that you cut out
with
from your postcards.
Negative postcards we want next time.
If somebody's having too good of a time, just bring them down with your postcards.
Okay.
Why not?
Are we going to end it there? Any other final thoughts? Anyone want to say anything? I'm going to...
I will just say the last session, just so everybody knows, I believe is on the 19th of March.
Next session.
That's the next session. So
Yeah.
everybody's got 2 weeks
Yeah.
of break. Maybe it's too long. I don't know. I think we will be putting
There
up
will be
this
some
session.
conversations happening on the email in between.
And I think
yeah.
maybe because everybody's on like lots of WhatsApp groups and things like that, I wonder whether we're going to put the postcards on our social media. So please follow KQ Hub, follow the People Speak, and drop your comments on social media under the post. But I'll send an instruction about that. Anyway, don't worry about the detail. I'll email about it. So it's all good in the hood.
Okay, well, we're maybe going to leave it there, unless there's still a chance for us to slip a final thought under the wire. No, that's not going to happen. So we're just going to
leave it. Allow it. Thank you, everybody. So that was Talkaoke Skills Lab session 1. Bang.